resulting crisis to heal itself, the U.S. government today offered its solution, and it's you. Washington rolled out 3 historic measures to save the economy. Most important, a new entity, financed by taxpayers, to buy up toxic mortgages no one wants and hold them until they're hopefully one day profitable.
This action does entail risk, but we expect that this money will eventually be paid back.
That may be a tall bet. Even the president's own Treasury Secretary today said the bill could total hundreds of billions of dollars. Meanwhile, fearing a run on the bank by American families, the government also today guaranteed for the first time that cash you may have in a money market fund, a longtime safe haven, is now insured, just like bank accounts. And to soothe the stock market, it banned for almost 2 weeks what's called short selling of financial stocks, essentially a bet the price of a stock will go down. It's one reason the market's been under pressure.
Here we go.
And together, all the government actions were cause for celebration on Wall Street today, where investors piled in, overwhelming traders and clogging online brokerage accounts. The Dow up almost 369 points, but down just 34 for the week, despite the drama.
I've never seen such pandemonium in the markets. I've only been in the business for 57 years.
That pandemonium has made some Americans question the underlying health of our economy, especially on a week that saw titans of business either die or get sold. Now, the hard part begins, figuring out how to keep banks, consumers, and the government from repeating some very costly mistakes.
When we get through this difficult period, which we will, our next task must be to improve the financial regulatory structure so that these past excesses do not reoccur. This is a critical debate for another day.
Secretary Paulson and Congress will work on that housing bailout over the weekend into next week. Some economists believe this is the closest we've come, Brian, to FDR's New Deal. And putting it together is not going to be easy or pretty.
Another unbelievable day as part of an unbelievable week. Carl, thanks for being here with us for all of it. And with us tonight from CNBC Global Headquarters, Jim Cramer. From the New York Stock Exchange, Maria Bartiromo. Good evening and welcome to you both. And Jim, I was watching this afternoon when you said we were on the precipice of a depression. Is that really the case?
Absolutely. This is about avoiding the Great Depression, too. This is about going to your automatic teller machine and having money still come out. This was necessary. I've been a relentless critic of this administration. Not today. This was well done.
So, Maria, there are folks, hard to believe, who don't agree with our friend Mr. Cramer. What's the other side of that?
Well, you know what, Brian? There is a downside because you can't have an expectation that the government is going to be there to bail you out every time you decide to take on too much risk. And the debate is happening right now about whether or not the federal government should be there, given the fact that these firms took on all of this risk. They made the decision to take on so much leverage. They should be allowed to fail. That's the debate going on right now.
And sometimes you have to go with the wisdom of the American people on this. We got an email today from a viewer of ours in Kansas that made a lot of sense to a lot of us. We'll put it on the screen. It reads, are these government bailouts of AIG, Bear Stearns, etc., simply prolonging the inevitable, or should the government, next screen, let the market correct itself, and if some of these large companies are liquidated, so be it? Jim?
There was a time when there was a president by the name of Herbert Hoover. He wanted the market to decide. He did nothing. We look back at that era with shame and disgust. This was taking that off the table. We needed to do this in order to be able to survive and not have Great Depression, the sequel.
Maria, in just a few seconds, if it lends itself to that, this was the kind of jittery week in New York. A lot of people had to go back to 9/11 to remember how they felt then. How do you feel going into this weekend?
Oh, wow. Well, you know, I'm feeling optimistic, Brian. I think that the regulators are on this issue. I think we will get through it. I think there are a lot of reasons to feel good about things, even though we will see layoffs, and that is going to have ripple effects throughout the economy. Things are pretty slow right now, but this economy is resilient. We'll get through it.
Our thanks to our friends Maria Bartiromo, Jim Cramer, and Carl Quintanilla before them. The swiftness and the intensity of this week's events have caught even many financial experts by surprise. So we asked CNBC's Dylan Ratigan to step back, take a look at how we got here in the first place.
This financial crisis started with the availability of cheap credit. In the old days, to get a mortgage, a buyer would go to the bank, show proof of an income, provide a substantial down payment, and become a homeowner. In the new model, Banks were encouraged and even got fees to loan money to home buyers with poor credit and no money down. Making things worse, Wall Street got into the game, agreeing to insure the banks in case homeowners didn't pay their home loans. But the trouble is, Wall Street did not keep enough money in reserves, $1 for every 30 lent out. And when homeowners began defaulting, Wall Street couldn't keep up, bringing the American financial system to the brink.
So who's to blame? In a sense, we all are. From the small mom and pop that took advantage of the low minimum payment on their credit cards to grow their business, to trillion-dollar institutions. If you thought you could reap the rewards of easy credit without the consequences, this is the proof that you can't.
Leaving the U.S. government to decide it had to step in and assume the mortgages. Why? So American banks could function again and continue lending you money. Dylan Radigan, CNBC.
Of course, CNBC will continue its live coverage of this crisis on Wall Street tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Again, Sunday night, they'll be back on the air at 8 p.m. The aftershocks from this financial earthquake will be felt for years to come, of course, well into this next president's term. Both candidates for that job focused on this crisis today and on each other, with 46 days to go now until Election Day.
This is a guy who spent nearly 3 decades in Washington. And after spending the entire campaign saying I haven't been in Washington long enough, he apparently now is willing to assign me responsibility for all of Washington's failures. I think it's pretty clear that Senator McCain's a little panicked right now.
Maybe just this once he could spare us the lectures and admit to his own poor judgment in contributing to these problems. The crisis on Wall Street, my friends, started in the Washington culture of lobbying and influence peddling, and he was right square in the middle of it.
Barack Obama and John McCain from earlier today, and joining us for a look at where this thing stands tonight, our political director, Chuck Todd. Chuck, there's an axiom in the politics business that a week is a year in politics, or a week is a lifetime. Well, this was that week.
We lived it. When you think about where we were one Friday ago, we were talking about how's Barack Obama going to get back on his feet? How's he going to shift the Sarah Palin news off of the front pages? And then Monday came, which of course has been described by some as an economic 9/11, and everything changed. And you could watch the body language actually in the two candidates. Obama suddenly feeling confident that he can talk about this issue, he can be aggressive about the economy. McCain struggling for all week long, trying to figure out what was the right thing to say. How much does he criticize Washington, trying to grab onto the word reform? Does he be a deregulator, a pro-regulator? By the end of this week, he finally feels comfortable going after Obama, because really he's got no other card to play on this.
A Democratic Politico said to me this week, if the Democrats do their job, they'll make this fundamentals of the economy, quote, to McCain what mission accomplished was to President Bush. I presume when you and I see each other in a week at the first debate, it'll come up.
Look, we are a week away. That debate is supposed to be about foreign policy and national security. Given everything that's happening, given the fact that Hank Paulson and Congress are going to be negotiating what exactly this new government entity is going to be, it's going to be hard for the economy not to be on the front pages. And this is going to dominate maybe the rest of the campaign, Brian.